I'm Chris, you're watching FRAG-MENTAL. So now the dust has settled on 2019, I thought I'd put together a selection of fragrances that I thought were the best releases of last year. Stay tuned to FM. Most of the fragrances on this list are niche or indie. I don't feel we had an amazing year for designer releases. Don't get me wrong, I smelled a lot of designer fragrances that were released this year that I enjoyed, but just not really enough to justify pulling the trigger on any of them. Having said that, I'm kicking off the list with a designer which did really impress me. This one has been a little bit divisive. I smelled this. I think I was possibly the first to put a review out on this one. And I thought everybody would love this as much as me, but that's not the case. Some people enjoy it, some people don't. I'm talking about Yves Saint Laurent's release of La Nuit de l'Homme EDP. So not everyone agrees with me on this one. Some people really enjoy it, some people think it's a bit of a weak release. Personally, I really enjoy it, but that's what makes this hobby so fun, isn't it? That we can all have differing opinions and we're all influenced for different reasons, different associations that we might have with scents. So I find the original EDT to be lively, playful. It's a good party scent, good youthful scent, a good night out scent. This is a little bit more grown up. I still think it's fun. I still think it's got a liveliness about it, but it's not quite got the pop, the cardamom pop that the original has. The pop of this one is slightly different. It's a more rounded, kind of sweet, refined type of opening. The opening is the best part about this fragrance. The first 2 hours I think are amazing. I've had compliments on this in the first 2 hours. I've had compliments when people have been smelling it off my skin, but it's more diffusive in that first 2 hours. I did a video where I asked a few people which they preferred out of the EDT and the EDP, and the majority did go for the EDP. If there's one criticism about this, it's that amazing opening. It would be nice if it stayed a little bit longer into the dry down, but it kind of fizzles out. I think you get a marginally better performance than the EDT, which was always criticised a little bit for its performance. I love this. It lasts me 5 to 6 hours, then maybe I have to reapply. But all in all, I think it's a great 2019 release. So there's a perfumer that you may have seen a little bit on my channel in the last few months. His name is Aaron Terence Hughes. He's a British perfumer. He reached out to me months ago and asked me if I could smell some of his fragrances and let him know what I thought. He wanted to send me the whole line, full bottles. I asked him to just send me a discovery set. So he sent me the discovery set and I chose my favourite from that set. My favourite of those fragrances, he's since come out with new ones, but my favourite at the time was Tobacco Oud and Vanilla. I'm talking about Aaron Terence Hughes. I love this one. I love Santal Extreme. I love Onyx. There's so many great ones, honestly. It's a line that just smells such high quality. He uses a lot of naturals. In fact, that's one of the things I love most about this. I believe Aaron uses his own vanilla tincture, which it takes him 12 months to prepare before he puts it into the composition, and it smells amazing quality. I think this tincture gives it a slight chocolatey vibe, so you've got the resinous of the tobacco, you've got the woody depth, you've got the sweetness of the vanilla, just all combines to create this rich, opulent, gorgeous tobacco fragrance. You know tobacco is one of my favourite notes. This is now one of my favourite tobacco fragrances. If you've not smelled Aaron's scents yet, try to smell them. I know it's a little bit difficult at the moment. He's a small operation, so he's selling out quickly on his website because he's getting a lot of interest. He's doing his best, so bear with him. Hopefully they can grow to the point where they can start to release fragrances a little bit more consistently rather than keep selling out. But if you do get a chance to pick up a discovery set, do try Tobacco Oud and Vanilla. I think probably still my favourite, or one of my favourites of his line. One of my favourite indie houses is Imaginary Authors. This is their latest scent. It's called Telegramma. It's based on two young Argentinian lovers that grow apart and then find each other again on an aeroplane. So the artwork is something that I think is always great on Imaginary Authors, and this is just like an old 1950s, 1960s plane ticket, I think. So gorgeous presentation. This is almost like a modern take on a fougere. There is lavender there, but it has this caramelized sweetness, which adds this lovely gourmand twist. It's a little bit talky, a little bit powdery. It's got a fresh linen accord. I find it to be a little bit creamy. The opening of this is quite unique. It takes you by surprise. If you're expecting lavender that you would normally get with a fougere, then you're going to be a little bit taken aback, a little bit surprised. I was at first. It took me a good few wearings for this one to grow on me, but now I absolutely love it. The dry down is amazing. You get some woods in the mid and you get this lovely creamy cotton candy powderiness, talkiness in the dry down, and it's quite addictive to wear. My wife loved this one on me. She doesn't often mention fragrances unless she really enjoys them. She mentioned that she liked this. I've had a couple of compliments on this one. A couple of people from work stopped me and asked me what I was wearing. It's a very wearable but artistic fragrance and a great 2019 release. Well done, Josh Myers. Next up is the latest release from Gallivant. If you don't know, Gallivant perfumes are all inspired by different cities from around the world. This one is inspired by Los Angeles. I would describe this as a fruity, floral, musky, woody scent. It's got a lovely fruity sweetness. It's got some darker notes. There's some cade oil in here. The woody depth gives it a real self-assured feel, but it's also got a little bit of playfulness as well. This I reviewed on my channel back in the summer, and I was wearing this a few weeks around that time. So it really reminds me of last summer, of summer 2019. So every time I smell this now, I'll always be reminded of getting to know this scent, exploring this scent, shooting my video, which I did on the coast in Anglesey in Wales. So good memories of shooting that one. I love this scent. I think it's one of my favourite releases of 2019. Good stuff from Gallivant, and I do love these little bottles as well. A brand that was getting talked about quite a lot last year with regards to its high quality natural ingredients that were sourced for the compositions is Bortnikov. I tried a couple from Bortnikov last year. My favourite of the ones that I tried, probably because it's got tobacco in it, is Oud Monarch. You've got to get past the opening of this. The opening is quite oody. It's a little bit kind of blue cheesy in the opening, I would describe it as. It's not repulsive, it's just quite potent, so if you're not used to smells of that potency, then you might be taken aback by it a little bit. But almost straight away, all that settles down quite quickly and you're left with a gorgeous sweet cinnamon, tobacco, oud and cacao. So you do get a lovely kind of powdery, chocolatey vibe from this. So the dry down of this is absolutely amazing. Quite different to the very potent, maybe slightly divisive opening, but like I say, that quickly dies down. The dry down is fantastic. It projects all through the dry down. It's very pleasing to wear, you're getting wafts all the time, and I was getting a few compliments wearing this, so it's definitely a crowd pleaser. I did get a few compliments when I was wearing this one, which surprised me a little bit. It smells very natural and extremely high quality. The next one is from Atelier des Ors. They released 3 fragrances in the Riviera line. I smelled all 3 when I was at Essence in Milan. This was my favourite of the 3. It's Riviera Lazuli. This one opens with a nice bit of citrus. There's also some cypress, plenty of woody depth due to the cedar wood and the gaiac wood, and there's also some balsam fir, so a little bit of greenness, lots of woodiness, a lot of depth to this one actually for a fragrance that I think was marketed at summer. So I've been mainly wearing this through the winter, and as great as I think this one will be in the summer, I've not yet worn it in the summer, in the winter, it just works. I think there's some incense in here as well, which is just helping it work well in the cooler weather. I've really been enjoying this. I'm really looking forward to wearing this through the summer. Beautiful scent, and I think this one probably is the best out of all the bottles as well. A house I've really been enjoying discovering over the last 12 months is Amarud. I'm really impressed with what I've smelled so far. Readily available to buy, I think, anywhere in the world. I know here in the UK you can buy them online, you can buy them from Harrods, you can get them at Jovoy Mayfair, so do go to those places and you must have a sniff because they're producing some high quality stuff. One of their releases from last year is called Golden Oud. So I'd describe this one as a bit of a gourmand. It's got caramel, oud, tobacco, incense, vanilla, musks. It's got one of those addictive smells. This is just smooth and warming, as the name might suggest. Golden oud. I wouldn't say the oud in here is very strong. I think it's supporting. It's not a skanky oud at all. It's definitely not a challenging wear. I've really been enjoying wearing this through winter. That warming nature that it has just works so well. I think it'd also work extremely well in autumn, maybe in spring, maybe on some cooler spring days. I think maybe it might be a little bit too heavy for summer wear. This is a beautiful, addictive, gourmand fragrance. For me, one of the best releases of 2019. This one was released right at the end of 2019 by a fellow YouTuber, Peter Carter, who has the channel Fragrance View. Anyone who follows Peter's channel knows that he's been building up to this brand for a long time. He's invested a lot of time, a lot of money into it. I purchased from him Dendera. This one is inspired by the mysteries of ancient Egypt, and it really does just transport you straight there. It's got a dustiness, got a dry, earthy dustiness to it. There's cinnamon, there's vanilla, there's oud, ambergris, so lots of naturals used in here. The incense just gives it this really kind of exotic, mysterious feel. It's quite potent, particularly in the opening, so if you're not sure whether the notes are going to work for you, if you think it might be a little bit potent, I would advise you to sample it first if you can. I would always advise to sample. Amazing bottle, great release from Peter. I'm really impressed. One of the releases that impressed me most last year, and across the board, anyone I've introduced this fragrance to, it's impressed as much as it has me. A lot of people that have smelled this actually have gone and bought a bottle. They love it that much. This is the much hyped, but for very good reason, the Chronic from Byron Parfums. No marijuana or weed in here. I believe it's called the Chronic because of its addictive nature, and it is so addictive. It's got this sweet, creamy bubblegum note, but it's got a lot of kind of wood in there. It's almost got a burnt sugar accord. Quite like a cinder toffee. It reminds me of cinder toffee, maybe like honeycomb, you know, like the inside of a crunchy. So very sweet, very wearable. Performance is amazing on this one. It's not going to let you down. It's going to go 10 hours plus. Because of its sweetness, because of its mass appeal, it's probably going to get you some compliments. I usually get people commenting on this whenever I wear it. The Chronic is unlike anything else I've smelled. I'm sure it does smell like other things out there, but personally, from the fragrances I know, this is quite different to anything else that I have in my collection. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I just can't get enough of wearing this one.
Join the Scent Geeks every Monday as we podcast about all things fragrance. You'll find us anywhere you can usually find a podcast. Links are in the description below this video. See you there, geeks.
Alright, so I'm sure some of you may have predicted that this would be on my list somewhere. We've had a big release this year from one of the biggest niche brands out there. Roger Parfums put the Parfum Cologne line. So these are Parfum Cologne versions, so a new category invented by Roger. So the idea behind these fragrances are that they have the staying power and the richness of the Parfum versions of these fragrances, but they've tweaked the top notes to make them a little more diffusive, a little brighter in the openings. My favourite fragrance at the moment of all time is Enigma from Roger Parfums, so I was really excited to try the Parfum Cologne. So this takes that DNA that I love so much about Enigma. It's got that gorgeous kind of almost cherry coke vibe, which is the cognac, I think, reacting with the vanilla and the benzoin. Adds a little bit of extra citrus in the beginning. Compared to the Parfum, which I also have, I find this one is more diffusive. It doesn't last quite as long on the skin because it's not as high a concentration, so you would expect that, but it does project more than the Parfum, and this gives you a lovely scent bubble. I've had many compliments wearing this fragrance, which is great because often when I wear Enigma, because it sits a little closer to the skin, it's not a fragrance that people often would mention or compliment me on, but with this one, it seems to happen because I think it just spreads out a little further. I think it's a little easier on the nose with those brighter, more effervescent, Hesperidic top notes. I wore this when I went round to Carlos's place to shoot some videos with him, and Carlos mentioned how much he liked it. Stephen from Red Essence mentioned how much he liked it, and many other people have mentioned how much they like this. So I'm very pleased to own this. I'm pleased that the DNA of my favourite fragrance has been getting a lot of hype, been getting talked about a lot this year, but it deserves it. I think it's a great fragrance. The only problem with this is because it is so easy to wear, I don't want to wear it too much, I don't want to wear it out, I don't want to get sick of this one, so I do have to use it quite sparingly. Having said that, I have put a little bit of a dent in this bottle. So very pleased we've had a new version of Enigma out this year. I'm now spoiled for choice. I've got 3 versions of Enigma, so when I feel like wearing this DNA, I just don't know which one to choose. So yeah, you know, it's a nice problem to have, isn't it? Okay, so those are my personal choices of what I felt were the best releases from what I smelled of 2019. There's more out there. There's plenty more out there that I haven't smelled. I'm sure there's some amazing designers that I didn't get my nose on this year, so there was a lack of designers on this list, so please let me know in particular some great designers that you've discovered this year, and let me know what niche fragrances, just let me know overall, maybe what are your top 3 best discoveries of fragrances that were released in 2019. I will do another video alongside this one, which is the best fragrances that I bought or received in 2019, but not necessarily fragrances that were released in 2019. The ones all on this video were all released in the year of 2019. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, keep tuning into FM and keep smelling good.